So now we're moving along, but our home page still lacks some bite, some charm, some warmth. I don't know, a certain something. Well, one way to brighten up a web page is to add some colors or images, and we have a few basic choices we're going to explore in this lesson. In session 1, we'll look at using a solid color using the background color property, and gradient colors using the background property. In session 2, we'll explore a single image or also tiled or repeating images. Our strategy will be to modify our body element so it has a class. Body, class equals back. And then we'll work with workstyles.css to experiment with the rules we apply to .back. Turns out we can use a lot of these background features in other elements, such as text areas or span or p and more as well. The background color property. This style property lets us specify a color that will fill the page before anything else is rendered. For example, .back, background color, red, semicolon. Now, a little reflection will quickly tell you that red is not a good choice. We have some red text for one thing, and that would be lost against a red background. However, you can specify any of the named colors found at this web page. Furthermore, you can be more precise using RGB or HSL values as described elsewhere on that same page. RGB uses decimal or hexadecimal or percentage values to specify how much red, green, and blue. Each of these to have a value of 0 to 255 in decimal, or hex 00 to hex FF in hexadecimal, or 0 to 100%. HSL functions use position along a color circle, the hue, and saturation and lightness, and detailed explanations are found on this same page. Further down on this page, you will see a list of extended color keywords, which provides for an even richer palette. So here's some examples of background color from this list, using beige, which is okay, brown, which is really terrible looking, gold, pale green, yellow, and bisque. Of course, your choice depends on what you already have on your page and the effect you're trying to create. I thought the bisque, yellow, pale green, and beige work best for the content we have here. If you want to go further out, there's a version that stands out, just changed color on body to white and used background color black. Whoa! I didn't like how the blue items came out, so I changed their color to yellow to get this result. Note, to make this happen, I changed the start rule to have color yellow and added the A element rule as A color yellow. Background gradients. Instead of a single background color, you can specify a more nuanced, shaded background. Specify 2 or more color values, and the browser generates a shaded transition from the starting color to the ending color. Now, at the time this video is being produced, late 2020, the gradient ideas are not officially standards, that is, recommendations in the language of the World Wide Web Consortium. But they are candidate recommendations and are already available in all tested browsers. The most current specification is CSS Images Module Level 3, a candidate recommendation from October 2019. Here's the URL. Note, the gradient specs are used for the background style property, not the background color style property. And there are 2 kinds of gradients, background linear gradient with its values, and background radial gradient with its values. So let's take a look at how to code the various values. For linear gradients, imagine the background of your web page is a series of horizontal lines, each just 1 pixel high. Then suppose the first of these lines is a color you choose, and the last of these lines is another color you choose. Then, with linear gradients, the browser is expected to draw all the horizontal lines in between, changing the color of each line evenly, so you see a gradual transition, a gradient. Syntax 1. Linear gradient, optional to top or bottom, comma, color stop, comma, etc., where to bottom indicates color stops should be displayed from the top to the bottom. This is the default if the to argument is omitted, and to top indicates the color stops should be displayed from bottom to top. Color stops are color specifications, that is, color keywords or RGB functions or HSL functions, as discussed earlier. Optionally, followed by a distance, some number with a percent or some number with pixels or some number with points, etc. This distance indicates how far down the screen the new color should begin. The default is equidistant based on the number of colors. Example 1. Dot back, background, colon, linear gradient, parenthesis to bottom, comma yellow, comma blue, parenthesis semicolon. And if we use this in our Takayama page, it looks like this. Example 2. Of course, if you reverse the blue and the yellow, that is background linear gradient to bottom, blue, comma yellow, you would see this, not unexpected. Example 3. Now here's an example using the optional distance argument. So dot background colon linear gradient parenthesis to bottom, comma yellow 70%, comma blue. That is, don't start the transition to blue until you're 70% down the screen. So it looks like this. Notice how the transition is deferred to near the end of the page, making it seem a bit more sudden. Now note, I'm not choosing colors here that are necessarily the best for the page. I'm choosing colors that will provide good contrast for our examples. Instead of having the gradient be horizontal, it can be vertical. So syntax 2, linear gradient, optional to left or right, comma, color stop, and so on. So here's an example, dot background colon linear gradient to right, comma yellow, comma blue, and it displays this way. So notice the yellow is on the left and the blue is on the right, and there's that gradient in between. But wait, there's more. You can have the gradient be at an angle on the page. Syntax 3, one of these, linear gradient to right top or to right bottom or to left top or to left bottom, and then a list of color stops as we've seen before. So to right top means start the first color in the lower left corner and end the last color in the upper right corner. To right bottom means start the first color in the upper left corner and end the last color in the bottom right corner. To left top means start the first color in the lower right corner and end the last color in the upper left corner. To left bottom means start the first color in the upper right corner and end the last color in the lower left corner. That is, build the gradient at an angle. So example 5, dot background linear gradient to top right, comma yellow, comma blue, will look like this. Observe the solid blue in the upper right corner and the solid yellow in the lower left corner. The gradient is on an angle. But wait, there's more. You can get even more control over the angle by actually specifying the degrees of the angle in the first parameter. The syntax is a number followed by DEG. The number is between 0 and 360. Numbers outside this range are adjusted to be in the range. Some examples. So we have linear gradient some angle, comma, yellow, comma, blue. If the angle is 0 DEG, it's the same as to top. If it's 45 degrees, it's the same as to right top. If it's 90 degrees, it's the same as to right. 135 degrees is the same as to bottom right. 180 degrees is the same as to bottom, and 270 degrees is the same as to left. But you don't need to just specify multiples of 45 degrees. You can put in any number in the range to affect different shadings. But wait, there's more. Remember, you can have any number of color stops. For example, dot back. Background is linear gradient to right, comma white, comma blue, comma yellow, which gives us this. Not the most pleasing image, but you get the idea of how it works. So, that's it for linear gradient arguments. Optionally, code an angle or one of the two phrases. If omitted, it is the same as saying to bottom, followed by a comma. And then code a list of color values separated by commas. Again, generally keep it simple and consider what's essential on your page. But wait, there's more. Gradients can also be shaped as circles or ellipses. Radial gradients. With radial gradients, the colors emerge from a single point and spread outward in a circular or elliptical shape. Arguments for radial gradients are four kinds of values. Shape, which is either circle or ellipse, of the resulting image. If omitted, default is circle if size has one value and ellipse if the size has two values. The next argument is size. For a circle, you specify the radius in a length unit like 100 pixels. For ellipse, you specify a horizontal radius length and a vertical radius length, and that can be in a length unit or in a percentage. Next is position, that is the location of the center of the gradient, preceded by the word at. If not specified, it defaults to at center of the gradient area. And then a color stop list of colors to blend in what order, like we've seen before. Note that shape and size may be specified in either order. The arguments are very complicated, and we've gone on so long already, so we'll just demonstrate a few examples. Here, dot back, background, radial gradient, circle, yellow, aqua. So you see we seem to have a yellow circle in the middle fading outward to aqua. Then dot back, background, radial gradient, ellipse, white, yellow, aqua. So here's an ellipse. We're using three colors. In the very center you can see it's white, expanding to yellow and expanding to aqua. And here we have an example of the more complicated situation. Dot back, background, radial gradient, 50M circle at top left, comma, yellow, comma, blue. The parameters say, give me a circle with radius 50 Ms with its center at the top left of the page, composed of yellow and blue color stops. And this displays this way. Again, I suggest keeping things simple, although as you can see, you can get quite clever if you need to. Although our examples all demonstrate using gradients for the body element, they may be easily used by div, span, p, and other elements. Our final example demonstrates a more pleasing color choice and also applying the style to a span element. Here we see a linear gradient from pink to yellow on the body, and down at the bottom of the page we set it up for a span for part of the paragraph, just to demonstrate. In addition to linear gradient and radial gradient, the latest proposed standard also specifies repeating linear gradient and repeating radial gradient options. But we'll leave that as an exercise for the interested student. Personally, I find them hard to work with and not that much value in return. As of this writing, the official documentation is here. For a sneak peek, it looks like a later standard coming down the pike will also offer a conic gradient option. Stay tuned. A revelation. You might be surprised to find out, see the next lesson, that background is really a shorthand for a whole slew of properties related to the backgrounds of elements, and that gradients are considered images. So you could code background-image : linear gradient parenthesis yellow comma blue parenthesis. Lots more options coming up. You may well find some of the gradient features we've discussed useful for your background of your web pages, but in any case, consider using these gradients for smaller items like button elements or input elements. In this session, we explored enhancing your web page by providing a solid color background or a shaded color gradient. Coming up, in the next session, we talk about using images for your page background. See you there.